All right, Shalom. First and foremost, give all praises to Yahweh,
Ba'ashem, Yahushai.
Double honors to the elders of GMS who were well. Peace and salutations to the Akim in the four corners of doing this truth and sincerity. Peace be unto you. You know, the real Israelites, the Bible. You know, not the so-called fake ones, because we fell from our heritage and we lost who we were. You know, and you look today, Jake, you know, your so-called Israelites or your so-called, you know, Negroes, Native Americans, Latinos, they don't care about who they are, who they come from, who they're descended from. They're not concerned about any of that. They don't think about, oh, you know, maybe, you know, I need to get back to my lost ancestors and you know, you don't hear about Native Americans wondering about what's their real nationality, you know, because Native American, that's not your nationality. You were called Native American by your so-called white people, Europeans, but you weren't calling yourself Native Americans because America was named after a white man called Amerigo Vespucci. So what were you before he even existed? What was the name of your nationality? You weren't Indians, you know, so it's about getting back to your lost statutes and commandments, because right now, Israel doesn't know, don't consider, but you got your so-called gutter rats, or we call them Amalekites, or your so-called Ashkenazi Jews that go around claiming that they're the true Israelites who don't do nothing according to the Bible. You know, they put a funny ass teacup on their hat.
I heard it was Gronk.
Right, that too, an A cup, whatever that is. You know, they go around, you know, put little fringes dangling out their pockets, you know, all type of, you know, circumcise each other with fucking biting the fucking foreskin and sucking it off called mitzvah b'peh. These are not the children of God. These are the children of the devil, of Satan. They're called what you call Edomites.
This is Jeremiah. Should I bring this out now?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Jeremiah 17, verse 4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thy inheritance that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever.
Right, so this is a prophecy right here. This is a prophecy that has been fulfilled. Now you have to wonder, when was this prophecy fulfilled? When were we discontinued from our heritage? You know, we were discontinued beginning, you know, in around 70 AD when they destroyed all, you know, our records. Then we had to flee, you know, and from the so-called flee from the flood, you know, which is talked about in Revelation chapter 12. You know, we had to flee from that. So this is the beginning of us, you know, falling from our heritage. You know, from there on, you know, we went to other different lands. When Jake goes to other different lands, they don't take up on the customs of the people. Just like it says that when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And that's exactly what Jacob did. You know, he goes into Egypt, you know, he'll stick a bone in his nose. You know, he'll go up in America, he got suits and ties. Go to any other place, you know, Jacob take on that custom because that's part of the curses, you know, us being discontinued from our heritage.
Going back to when the brother spoke about the so-called white man, the Jewish race over in Israel. This is Psalms 50, verse 16. But unto the wicked, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai saith, that what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instructions and casteth my words behind thee. This is Psalms 50, verse 16. But unto the wicked, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instructions and casting my words behind thee.
And the top wicked nation on this earth right now is so-called, you get, you got more than that, you get Judge Job 9 and 24. Because the top wicked, you know, person on this earth is a so-called white man. These are the most wicked people on the earth. You know, so what do you have to do with carrying the law, statutes of the Most High? The Most High didn't give them to you. And on top of that, they have the so-called, the biggest gay parade in the land of Israel. You know, so they don't follow the law. You know, they got their own, you know, thing they got going on.
I got this one in Malachi 1:4. This is Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
So this talks about rulership. The earth is going to be given to the hand of the wicked. So who's going to be ruling the earth?
He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
And they cover the faces of the judges by iconoclasm, taking different images of your so-called Jesus Christ, who they say is a so-called white man. They cover his face and put it, they cover Yahweh's face and change his name and put it, make an image of Cesare Borgia, which also goes against one of the 10 Commandments, to make no images. And then they go and make his face white. They make the angels' face, they make the Israelites' faces, the prophets, everybody white.
He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, if not, where and who is he?
Right, so that's a rhetorical question at the end of that. So if it's not the so-called white man, because he's the one that's ruling the earth, he's the one who has the oil is traded in his currency. You know, you got, you know, they take over lands, you know, they put, you know, they armies in every country. You don't see Chinese putting their armies, you know, every single country. You don't see, you know, the Ethiopians putting, you know, garrisons and troops in every country. You know, that's the so-called white man. He covered the face of the judges thereof. So if it's not the so-called white man, who is it? Who else has the power? Who else is ruling the earth? Who else is covering the faces of the judges of the so-called Bible? The other nations, they more so don't even give a damn about it. You know, the Chinese, you know, they took part of our downfall, but they're not really giving a fuck about, you know, making Israelites' faces, you know, Chinese, you know, with some slanted eyes. You know, they're not the ones that's doing that.
Go with this one.
Go ahead.
This is Malachi 1:4. It says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh have indignation forever.
Right, this devil got a short time to live. This is why as soon as he came out the cage, he ain't wasting no time. He went killing, slaughtering, murdering. You know, so this is how so-called white man has got, you know, to his powership and rulership. And also by taking our heritage, because we are come back to God and we do what he does. You know, you read that in the Apocrypha, you know, they try to make us go off because they know if we sin against our maker, that they have an advantage of us. You know, so this is their whole purpose, you know, of trying to, you know, just be as wicked and disgusting as, you know, as trifling as they can be, you know. So they, you know, they building, you know, all these buildings, all these buildings that they build, you know, and some of us, we took part of that slavery, but they, they've had a very, very short time. But the Most High says he's going to throw down, you know, so all this stuff that you see in America, all these buildings, you're not going to see no more buildings. You're not going to see, no, 8-story building, no 10-story, 20-story building. You're not going to see any of that. Because the only thing you're going to see and here is, as a memorial, when we fly over, we're going to see the desert creatures, the cormorant, the bittern, the owls, you know, scorpions. We're going to see desert creatures. You know, that's basically all we're going to see. You know, so this thing is, you know, going to be thrown down by the Most High.
God, and just go back. It says, and they shall be called the border of wickedness. You know, and the people against whom Yahweh have indignation forever. Well, when you link that together with Job 9:24, that lets you know that Esau is the wicked. He's the one whom the earth has been given into his hands. You know.
And how you do it? Can you get I think Genesis 26:40? You said by the sword thou shalt live.
47.
47.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
And this is basically how they've managed to, you know, go about and rule the earth.
Genesis chapter 27. Starting from verse 39. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of the heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother.
Right, so by the scripture says, by the sword shalt thou live, and you shall serve your brother. You know, so there's going to come a time, which has been fulfilled, that the so-called white man is going to be able to inherit, you know, this earth, this planet, his rulership. You know, just like you had other nations that had their kingdom, Esau's going to have his kingdom. You know, just like your Babylonians, your Persians, Ethiopians, they've all had their kingdoms and they've all fought. No difference difference in the so-called white man's kingdom. His kingdom's gonna fall yet again. You know, it's gonna fall. You know, so basically the Most High is basically, can you read that again? Basically, Isaac is saying, giving him a blessing. Read it from the top again. Red horse.
Genesis chapter 27, verse 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck.
Right, and they broke the yoke off our neck. You know, the scripture also say, he that leadeth the captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. So the person whose blessing was given, lived by the sword, was so-called Esau. You know, so basically, here, you know, they're not exempt from judgment. So they're going to go into captivity, you know, and the sword, don't think just the sword means just a literal sword. You know, sword is basically your weaponry. And this is what Esau, you know, has been doing ever since he was so-called, when he was actually Cain, you know, who actually killed and slew his own brother, you know, Abel. You know, so that's his blessing has been, you know, the sword. You know, so this is how, you know, they conquered the earth. You know, when you had, back in ancient times, you had, you know, people fighting with, you know, spears, you know, and knives and swords and, you know, some cannons and slings. You know, eventually, white man, he discovered gunpowder, and he had his gun. You know, so when people, you know, are using a sword and stuff like that, he got the power to, you know, shoot you from a distance. You know, so Esau has perfected that. You know, so this has always been what they always put so much money into their military. You know, they make sure they put millions and billions of dollars in their military because they want to make sure that they stay on top. They feel like this is their weapon. You know, that's how they're going to stay on top is by, you know, by bullying everybody.
This is Revelation 6, verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword.
Right, a great sword to slaughter. Now this red also refers to Edom. Esau was born red and hairy. You know, so he was given to take peace away from the earth. And it's also about the Maccabees. I think the first chapter, like the first 2 or 3 verses, said, you know, many evils were multiplied. This is when the so-called white man came on earth. You know, because you had wickedness before. You know, wickedness wasn't like unheard of, but it multiplied. You know, they took wickedness and reinvented it. You know, re-innovated, remixed it. You know, we said y'all ain't seen nothing yet. And that's exactly what they did. They took the wickedness from every other kingdom and they combined it, you know, making us eat swine, you know, telling us, you know, that we can't keep the law, statutes, commandments. You know, so this is, you know, this is wickedness being, you know, taken, you know, to further, you know, because other nations, they didn't say, oh, you can't, you know, you can't say that you're the Israelites. You know, other nations, you know, they didn't really, they just more so wanted, you know, to keep us down, you know, and have us be tributaries. So-called Esau, he feels like he's entitled to the birthright. Other nations, they don't feel like, oh, you know, they're just like, oh, we're a real inheritance. They stole the birthright, the blessing from us, so we're going to take it, and you can't call yourself, you know, the Israelites because we are, you know, the other nations, they understand that they're nothing. You know, these Edomites, they have so much arrogancy that they feel that the Most High is dwelling with them. You grab something more? Okay, can you grab Genesis chapter 25, verse 25 up to 26, it says Esau came out red and hairy.
I got all one also. This is Genesis 25 and 30. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, what that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom.
Edom means red. You know, so this is basically, he traded his birthright, which wasn't supposed to go to him anyways, but it's all said through the most spirit and power of the Most High. But the Most High just had to make it come through like that. You know, because usually the elder one gets the blessing. You know, because you hear the scripture says Esau came out first. You know, Jacob came out next. You know, Jacob's name is turned into Israel. But your so-called white person, since he feels entitled to that blessing, he goes and says, I'm the real Israelite. I'm the real Jew, which they know that they're not. your Israelite or your so-called Israeli, they know that they're not the so-called Jews. You know, if you ever talk to them, most people, you know, you can't ask them what they believe in because they know all that shit is fucking bullshit.
This is Genesis chapter 25, verse 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment.
Right, this one is Esau right here. Go ahead.
And they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when he bare them.
But yeah, so the next came out Jacob. You know, so Jacob, whose name was turned into Israel. And because people say that so-called Edomites, they were done away with, which that's not true. When, where, how? So-called Edomite, you know, which we just read in Revelations through the Spirit, that's referring to the red horse, you know, that power with the sword. You know, so only red devil in this Bible that was given the blessing of the sword was Esau. You know, so he's all the way over here in Revelations. You know, so when did he die? You know, so he's the last person to rule the earth. You know, people say, I've heard say the Edomites were black. You know, you have some Edomites that are black, you know, but overall, right, Esau, you know, is your so-called white man. And everybody wants to say everything that they can to either save the white man, say that he's Japheth,